All right, I want to welcome everyone to the Portage County Safety Council, another one of our virtual events. We are excited to be here and even more excited to see each and every one of you online with us today. Today, we have a packed agenda with a lot of good information. I am really excited about this, moving more versus sitting less. I can tell you during the pandemic, I have sat more than I have ever sat my entire life. I now do walking calls because I just can't stand sitting still anymore. It's just we've been in these chairs for too long. So this is going to be really good for you, not only professionally, but personally too. It'll help us change how we look at life. We also have a sponsor today, Metis Construction Services. This is an amazing company right out of Kent, Ohio, right here in the heart of Portage County. I have worked with them for years. They are a great company. I'm really excited to see them on board with us today. For those that I have not had the opportunity to meet yet, my name is Nick Coya, and I'm your industrial safety consultant with the Ohio BWC. My job is to help you keep your employees safe and keep your costs low. So if you are an employer in Portage County, reach out to me. If you're outside of Portage County, that's fine. Get a hold of me and I'll get you in contact with your consultant. But I want to help you. It's a free service we offer. It's part of your premiums. We never charge you and we're strictly consultative. We're here to help you improve safety and health. So there's my cell phone number. Give me a call, shoot me a text. We'll schedule a meeting and see what we can do to help out. Speaking of great things that we offer here through the Ohio BWC, this is our upcoming virtual training class schedule. It looks full because we keep adding more and more and more. We've gotten really good at this. There's some really great classes coming up in the month of March. We have just as many coming up in April also. Myself and Lori Goodnight, who's online with us today, will be teaching controlling workers' compensation costs on March 1st and 2nd. Recommend you check that out. There's also some HAZCOM pieces in there. NFPA 70E is one I always recommend for people to check out. So take a look at all those and register for those at the bwclearningcenter.com. I also want to remind you about Ohio BWC Personalized Safety Services. We're here to help you. We can do technical consultations from looking at machine guarding to helping you develop your lockout tagout plans to doing training and education, being virtually through our training division or having me come on site. We also have developed written safety and health templates so that you don't have to spend money on those pieces. We can give those to you and teach you how to improve upon those. We also have safety talks that are available and a full team of consultants. Like I said, I'm out of Portage County. My counterparts are Rick Mage, who is our industrial hygienist. He'll come do noise and air monitoring. And we have Kelly Ott, who'll come out and do ergonomic assessments for you. And if that isn't even enough, we have more to offer through Ohio BWC with our library, where we have over 600 safety videos. 200 of those are streaming to help support your training services, and they'll help with safety, also with your safety trainings. Ohio Safety Congress and Expo. I am really excited about this. I know it sounds cheesy. Every year I get excited, but this year I'm even more excited because Mike and I got a chance to do podcasts with the top 8 speakers. I am so excited about the topics, have me really hyped up for Safety Congress. There's some amazing leadership stuff. So not only should your safety people be in this, but I recommend invite your CEO, your CFO, your division managers, plant managers, have them hop into some of these sessions. There are so many golden nuggets that you're going to find in this training. It's just an amazing opportunity, and we've expanded it. It is bigger than it was the year before. So many things to offer. In fact, we've even created a digital marketplace for you. You can visit retailers that are going to be selling safety products and get one-on-one time with them online to learn about the product, get your questions answered, and find the products that are going to keep you safer. Once again, I'm excited for today's presentation. Before we get into that, though, I'm going to turn it over to Lori Goodnight from the Ohio BWC. She's going to talk with us a little bit about a new program that we have here in Northeast Ohio. Lori, if you want to go ahead and do your screen share, the floor is yours.
I will, just a second. Let me get this up.
For those of you who have not met Lori, she's our business consultant out of the North Canton office. She sits one cubicle over from me. I enjoy working with Lori. She is a great representative of the state and has a lot of good information. Go ahead, Lori.
Well, first, I do cover Portage County, and like Nick said, I am a business consultant in this area, and I'm very happy to be back at Portage County speaking to you today. I'm just going to talk a few slides, cover a few things on the Substance Use Workplace Safety Program. It is a new program with BWC, and I wanted to introduce it. I will tell you, don't get scared by the name. You're not hired necessarily have to hire somebody in recovery. It's nothing like that. It is to assist you though with some costs, which is related to drug-free workplace. So this program, if you, for example, are in our drug-free workplace program, you can use this to subsidize it. If you're not, like you're not in drug-free, you're in group retro, where you know you can't stack drug-free or group, you can also use this program. So the Substance Use Recovery Act, it's a wonderful name there, is easy to do. It's easy to get enrolled, and reimbursement is really easy. So what do we cover? So this is a great opportunity for anyone right now. The Substance Use Recovery or SERP program is a program that provides reimbursement for the following. All of us have to have a written policy. So if we have a written policy development that we need to do relating to substance use issues, we will cover it. We all know it's critical to have a good drug-free written policy and to address problems of substance use. And this is one of the things that we will actually subsidize or help pay for. We recognize that legal review may be needed every year. It's a really good idea for you to have your drug-free workplace program looked at annually with the changing laws and the new things coming in. Your written policy may need to be updated, and this is something that the Substance Use Recovery Workplace Safety Program will pay for. It also pays for education, and it pays a big chunk on education, both for your employees and your supervisors. We know employees need education on your drug-free workplace program and the effects of the substance use on the workplace. It also will cover supervisors, and it will help them understand the employer's drug-free workplace program. And if they need to, document reasons for suspicion, and then possibly refer an employee over to available resources, this is some of the training that we will pay for. And both of those are pretty, we pay quite a bit for education and supervisory training. The BWC will also reimburse for drug testing. So anyone that's doing drug testing out there, whether it's reasonable suspicion, post-accident, random, pre-employment, return to work, will pay up to $1,500 as long as in your policy you have a second chance agreement. So you can also request reimbursement of any of the components I just talked about back to July 1, 2019. So you can actually go back 2 years and get reimbursement for your drug testing, your legal review, your written policy that you have to put together, all of that, or training and education back to 2019. That's right, I said it again, 2019 is how far back you can go. This is a great opportunity for you. After July 1st, 2022, you can only go forward. So you have to June 30th to request reimbursement, and that's over all the components again, back to July 1, 2019. So December 27th is when we rolled this out to all counties. It initially started, it only had a few counties. If you are in the orange, which I believe Portage County is, you will get reimbursement directly from BWC, and we'll go over that here in a minute. But we rolled this out, all the counties are covered. Employers who are eligible, obviously, or anybody that is current status with BWC, meaning you don't have any past due balances due, or you're current on a payment plan, you're active or reinstated, and you've reported and paid your true up from last year. There are a few employers that aren't eligible that are state agency self-insuring employers and clients of self-insured PEOs and clients of self-insured AEOs. So if you're in the purple, which I know Portage County isn't, but Summit County is. Summit County gets reimbursed through the ADAMH board or Alcohol, Drug, and Mental Health Board. Portage County is in the orange, and as I said earlier, you will be reimbursed directly by BWC. Now, both reimbursement and your application are very easy to do. It shouldn't be difficult for you. If you are a state fund employer, like I said, if you're in any program, almost every program can qualify for this program and get reimbursed for some of their drug testing and educational issues. If you have any questions, I know I'm just introducing this program today. I'm going to put my name and contact information in the chat. Please give me an email, call me. I'll be glad to spend more time going over the program, how to get enrolled, etc. Again, it's a great program, and I want to thank everyone for letting me speak. Mike, it was great meeting you. You're hysterical. Now I know why Nick's so well behaved. And thank you all from Portage County. Please reach out and I'll put this information in the chat.
Thank you for that, Lori. I also dropped your name and phone number in the chat, along with a direct link to the substance program that she was just talking about. I encourage you to bookmark that. That is great information. At this time, thank you again, Lori, for being here. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to have you here with us. Next up is Amanda Sen from Metis Construction. Amanda, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Get it up here. So thank you for having me today. This is my first Safety Council meeting. My name is Amanda Sen, and I am the marketing specialist here at Metis Construction. As Nick mentioned, we are located in downtown Kent, but we do jobs, all over Summit County, Stark County. We'll travel wherever. So I started here just almost a year ago. I came from the news center at Neomed. I was the event sales and marketing director there for 7 years. So I'm still fairly new to the whole construction industry. Today, I wanted to quickly introduce everyone to our social media platforms. I'm sure some of you follow us, but so Metis primarily we communicate through Facebook and LinkedIn, our main platforms. Some of the things we post about are current and new construction jobs. So these are a couple that we started in Akron. This one's up in Bainbridge. So we like to keep everyone up to date on those. Something else that's very important to the Metis culture here is our community involvement. So we regularly try to post pictures of different events that we've attended as a team. So the Kent JCs just had their reverse raffle, and that was at Bell Tower Brewery in Kent here. This is Julie's shopping for Hattie Larlam at Christmas time, and then the Possibilities Ball in Summit County. So those are things that we try to make sure we take picture of whenever we're out and about in the community. Something else that we do, we like to recognize, national days of recognition. So Women in Construction Week is coming up. This is our post from last year, but we'll post for Veterans Day, for Black History Month, whatever's topical at that time. Maybe a little Margarita Day post on Tuesday. So it runs the gamut. We try to keep it light and fun. To go along with your program today, I also included some of our more active posts. So the middle one here, over the summer, a lot of members of our Metis team went out to InfoCision Stadium and did the 9/11 stair climb. This is a couple of our project managers and project coordinators at a volleyball tournament, and then cornhole's somewhat active, right? We do golf outings throughout the summer. So again, we just try to post whenever we sponsor things or we're a part of the community. Right now, one of our big initiatives that we're currently heavily promoting is the Metis Goes Red, which coincides with National Heart Month and the American Heart Association. And this year, Julie Brandel, our president, was actually nominated as a Woman of Impact. So every year, the Heart Association recognizes a select group of women through the Akron-Canton area that are nominated for their lasting impact on the community. So that's something that she's very proud of right now. And of course, if you're so inclined to donate, I have a link right here. So the last thing I just wanted to talk about quickly is these are a couple of events that I help coordinate that are coming up that would be of interest to this group specifically. So as I said, National Women in Construction Week is coming up. I'm a part of an organization called NAWIC. It's the National Association of Women in Construction. So we're just trying to get more just a little more exposure, get more women interested in our group. So we're doing a happy hour networking event at High Hope Brewery Wednesday, March 9th from 5:30 to 7:30. So that's the one on the left here. You can RSVP through Eventbrite, or you can contact me. It's women in construction, but it really runs the gamut. It covers a lot of different, you could be a supplier, you could be in manufacturing. So I'd love to see some of you out there. And then the one on the right here. So this is a panel discussion that we put together with Portage County SHRM and the Aurora Women in Networking, but it's open to everyone. So we have a panel of Holly Harris-Bain, Jennifer Corso, and Natalie Lemons talking about, something that's affected all of us, which is the, employment issues we're all facing. So we're going to talk about how to attract as well as retain talent, in this time that they're calling the mass resignation. And that will be at the Kent State Hotel and Conference Center. We're doing a networking registration from 4 to 5, and then we'll have dinner as the panel speaks, and then wrap up with questions at the end. So you can register for that through All About Aurora. That's the Aurora Chamber of Commerce's website, or there's this little QR code. And again, you can contact me if you need information on either of those. So that's all I had. Here's my information, and I'll make sure Nick and Mike have it. So if anyone needs to reach out. Something else with the social media I wanted to mention. Of course, we encourage you to follow us, but if there's ever an initiative or an event or anything that you're promoting, we love to promote our partners. So you can reach out to me and say, hey, could you share this on your page, as you're looking for more exposure. So look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Also, you guys redid the outdoor section of Bentry. And if you guys love coffee, go to Bentry. It's the best coffee in Portage County, hands down. Just saying, personal endorsement. No coffee beans were heard in the making of this ad. All right. So Amanda, thank you very much. And we are excited. You mentioned the Great Resignation. We just found out, Nick and I, through a podcast from an Ohio Safety Congress speaker, it's actually the Great Retirement, because the boomers are retiring in their 70s. So there's a lot of branding there with it, but that's a good podcast. Check it out. He will be presenting there. So without further ado, I'm really excited about our speaker for today. I've been waiting weeks for this. I can't wait. Nick and I did a podcast with them a few weeks ago, and it was just phenomenal. The information. And listen, every time I hear something about sedentary work, I just realize it's way worse than what I thought it was for your health. I'm like, the statistics couldn't get any worse. Doctor comes on and gives us some worse statistics. So it's not his fault. Don't kill the messenger. But I can't wait to hear some of this info and actually get some practical solutions that we're actually going to do, and not just talk about in the meeting and go home and back do what we do normally. So he is a TEDx speaker. I'm just going to throw that plug out. It's waiting to get published. So we're real excited to have him today. And let me do a quick intro for you. Stefan Zavalin is a doctor of physical therapy with a passion for movement and health. After a few years working in the physical therapy world, Dr. Zavalin started a consulting business called Love to Move to help office workers reduce sitting time. The vision: change American work culture to help bring more movement to everyday life of office workers to maintain their health, wellness, and ultimately the longevity of their lives. He's also the author of Sit Less, Evolve Your Work and Life Without Compromising Your Health, which is currently available on Amazon. And I did put a link in the chat. If you go down a couple things, you could click right on that. And I think you guys should buy that book. It's thin. If you're not a big reader, it's thin, straight to the point, amazing stuff, and leave them a good review. So without further ado, Dr. Stefan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. That was a great intro. I had all these things in my head of what I was gonna say, and you've basically covered all of it. A little more about just me to give some of the finer details. I was in the clinic as a physical therapist, and effectively I saw that interacting with people one-on-one was not enough. They would come in, I would give them exercises, they'd feel better. They come back a year later, same problem, same issue. It didn't change it. And the whole reason that I started this is, one, I effectively had a parasite in grad school and I was losing my vision, and I finally got the diagnosis of being legally blind. And that really gives you kind of a kick in the pants of saying, you should do something else with your life maybe at this point. So it was that, and then this desire of saying, I need to reach more people. And so I understood that it wasn't about interacting one-on-one with individuals, but also talking to companies and changing the culture of how we do desk work. And so those things put together kind of jettison me into making sure that I help you guys with as much as I can to make sure that you're moving and that you're sitting less. And that gets us into an interesting topic, which that we're going to talk about is, okay, what's moving and what's sitting less? What is the difference? So let's dive right on in to all that fun stuff. So when it comes to moving and sitting less, a lot of people, we know moving more. We get that. Exercise more, do more of that. The sitting less is something that we have an issue with, and that's what we're going to dive in and talk about. Before we get too far into it, all I ask you to do is take a deep breath, just into the belly and out. Do 3, do 5. I'm going to keep talking. The whole reason for this is to help stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and digest side, so that you can rest and digest some of this information a little bit better. As we go through all of this, we're going to have a pretty interactive time. There's going to be a movement break. I'm going to pop in and out of the screen to talk to you about various things. So be alert, be ready to move. If you need to declutter something from your desk so you can stand up, you've got about 15 minutes. All right. So what are we talking about today? Yes, we're talking about movement, and movement is great and wonderful. But really what I'm trying to get you to is what it comes out to eventually. So I want you to have a happier and healthier work life, right? I want you to be able to hurt less while you're working and to get in more movement with less time. And this is where we're going to touch on this whole idea of moving more versus sitting less, and why it's not just about doing more and more exercise necessarily. Before we get to all of that, what is movement? What I like to define it as movement is life and to move is to live. That seems really drastic of a definition, but hear me out. Any part of us and any organism and anything that is alive has some amount of movement. Even when we're laying down still and sleeping, there's still processes inside of us that are still moving, right? You don't say if somebody's walking happily or jumping around, you don't question whether or not they are alive. It is when they're not moving at all that we start to question it. So how are we doing in terms of movement? Well, 80% of people are not meeting their requirements of movement. Now, this is an interesting point. This is where we start to consider movement and exercise. We tend to think that they are very similar. And when we tell people to move more, they need to exercise more. That's not necessarily the case. Exercise is a small subsection of movement. It's not all movement. You taking out your trash, doing chores, picking up your kids, that's all movement, but not necessarily exercise. So in this case, they were looking at exercise. And in this case, the 80% is people who didn't meet 150 minutes per week of activity. The problem is most of the activities that we do that we think are somewhat active are not as active as we may want them to be. So if you're just standing up, talking to somebody, that's not active enough to be part of the 150 minutes. It really needs to be walking or something where your heart rate is going up a little bit. 150 minutes a week, pretty doable. 30 minutes, 5 times a week. And that's the bare minimum. Really, that's the bare minimum that we should be exceeding that by far. But hold on. That's great. We talk about movement, we talk about exercise. You've been beat over the head with this idea of you should exercise more, you should exercise more. I personally don't think that it's helping. let's dive a little bit into, well, what are we doing? What is our day looking like? As well as my personal love for animals. So really our day consists more of, we sit at work, we sit in the car, and we sit at home. For cat lovers, no worries. Work, car, home. Sorry for the driving cat, he's got a little road rage. Don't blame me. For any avian friends, work, car, home. And for anybody I possibly left out, work, car, and home. My personal favorite, lizard with the apple and the laptop, because I think that's a posture I might get into every now and again. I don't know if anybody else relates to that. It's possible. So how much are we really sitting? What's that number? Now there are 12 circles here. Gives you a little bit of a hint that it seems to be that the average is 12 hours, but that is the average. What are we really getting up to? What are the realistic numbers that office workers are getting up to in terms of sitting? And that's 15 hours. And that's not just a couple or a small percentage. A large number of us are sitting 15 hours. And before you go, me, 15 hours, absolutely not. If you're waking up, and especially now, many of us can be remote, we don't even have to drive. You get up, you walk downstairs or into the kitchen, wherever it is, plop down for breakfast. Then you walk over to your computer. You maybe get up a couple times throughout the day. You maybe stand for 20 minutes preparing dinner or 30. You sit down, eat dinner. You watch TV for the remainder of the night. You go to sleep. You may be moved for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. If you sleep 8 hours, there's your whole day. That's it. That's 15 hours of sitting. Why is that bad? This is our little issue. The biggest statistic that we focus on is if you sit more than 11 hours per day, you have an increased risk of premature death by 40%. 40. Let's jump out here and talk a little face-to-face. So this is where I want to bring in this idea of sitting less. The 11 hours mark is the one we can't really reverse with exercise. That's the biggest, scariest part, is that even if we do an hour of exercise, it doesn't really touch all of the issues that we have on our health from that 11 or more hours of sitting. 6 hours of sitting increases anxiety and depression risks. 8 hours doubles our risk of cardiovascular disease. Scary, but if you exercise and you get the proper amount of activity, reversible. That's all fine. The issue really gets is when we push way past the 11-hour mark. Now, if we're sitting 15 hours a day, an hour of exercise is not really going to change anything. So if we talk about this idea of, I need to move more, right? That includes I need to stand up and take a stretching break. I need to go for a walk at lunch. I need to go exercise. These are all wonderful things that are going to do great things for your health. But unfortunately, they're just not enough. Because you can't scale this to, oh, you're sitting 15 hours. Let me exercise for 5 hours so I get under the 11-hour mark. You're not going to exercise for 5 hours a day. That's ridiculous. So this is the sitting less piece of how can we adapt our tasks at work, whether it be walking for your meeting, standing up during Zoom calls, or just walking over to a counter and doing 20 minutes of email standing up, finding those tasks that you can do to reduce the amount you sit, as opposed to try to move more. All right. That is very easy to say. So let's get into the next piece and possibly my favorite quote when I talk about this kind of subject. And that is that knowledge without action is useless and irrelevant. We've been beat over the head with this idea of moving more and doing more stuff. We know sitting is bad for us. The knowledge is there, the action is not there. And I don't want this presentation to be useless and irrelevant. I want it to be useful and relevant to you. So let's dive into it. So the first part that we have to go with is the motivation piece, right? Because we all go, well, I know I should, but I don't want to. It's easier to sit here. Fair, absolutely fair. I like to introduce a little exercise here as kind of taking it a few layers down. This is almost like acting like a child and repeatedly asking why to all these questions. So why do we move? Why do you move? Why do I move? I'll answer for myself. You can later do this exercise for yourself and find your own reasons. So I move because it's part of my job. Okay, you go down that next layer. Why is that part of my job? Well, I mean, I need to make a living. So I've made that part of my job. I need a job. Why do I need a job? Because I need to make money. Why do I need to make money? I mean, I like money. Money is good. Money helps me take care of my family. Money helps me get the things that I want. Why do I want things? Why does making and taking care of my family an important thing? This is where it starts to get a little ridiculous because you're going, of course, I understand the reason. I don't need to go further. This is where you need to push down and find the deeper motivation. For me, it's because providing for my family makes me happy. Providing for my family makes me feel loved. Right? Having money in that sense provides me certain freedom. I can feel free. What does this idea of freedom, love, and happiness provide for me? If I go down deeper, why do I want to be happy? Is because being happy makes me feel fulfilled. It makes me feel that I'm actually existing, I'm alive, and it feels wonderful. So now you take all these deep things, these core values, and it goes up the chain. So it goes of the job indirectly makes me happy to a certain degree, right? Movement is going to make me happy, is going to have me be a little bit more free, is going to have me be more fulfilled. This takes time. This is not an easy thing that you just sit down and do in a couple of minutes. You really need to dig down deep and really feel this for yourself, because that's the piece that's going to drive it. Is it going to work every single time to motivate you to stand up? No. But this way, you know that, hey, me taking out the trash is going to lead to long-term happiness, fulfillment, love. Okay, I'm less upset about having to take out this trash. All right, so once you've figured out your why for yourself, the next piece that we have to get into is the how. How do we move? The only reason I bring this in is because many of us have our own limitations. We can have physical limitations of the kind of exercises we can do, how we can move specifically, but there are other barriers that we can have, which is the reason I bring this in. And those can be mental, emotional, and social limitations. So the reason I have a person carrying a bike here is you may physically be able to ride a bike, but because you had a previous experience of being hit on a bike or just not seeing a stick and getting caught and falling off of a bike, you may not want to ride the bike for another emotional reason or mental reason. You have that block. Just be understanding that there might be different ways that you have to move compared to what your employees have to move, your coworkers, your family. It's all going to be a little bit different and nuanced. I could go and talk on this the entire time, but to give you a quick solution to this portion, it's the move within your means. Kind of very, very simple, move within your means. What I mean by that is if you're sitting 15 hours, don't start by standing for 2 hours during your workday. You're not ready for that. Start with 10, 15 minutes, progress from there. If you want to start walking, don't start with an hour walk or an hour exercise regimen. Start with 5, 10 minutes, build up from there. Whatever your means are, whatever you can do. If you have bad knees, running is probably not the thing for you to do. No matter how much somebody tells you, oh yeah, running, it fixed everything for me. Great for them. Probably not the thing for you. That's okay. Move within your means. The whole reason I have a waterfall in the background here for this picture is because it's one of my favorite quotes from Bruce Lee, be like water, in the sense of adapt and do what you need to be doing. All right. This brings us to a fun part, and especially in terms of, we talked about the social constraints, is you guys are not on camera, so you can join me in a movement break. And I'm going to hop off here. We're going to make this very, very quick and easy. Push your chair a little bit slightly away so you have the space to stand up. You don't need a whole lot of space, just the ability to stand up. That's all that you're going to do. We're going to make it nice and short and simple. Please follow along. Nobody's watching, and it's going to be good for you. So imagine if you're sitting down, all I'm going to ask you to do is stand up. If you've got to push up with your arms, that's perfectly fine. All right. Bend down, touch your knees. You don't have to go to your toes unless you're super flexible. I'm not. That's okay. Okay, come on back up. Bend over to the left. I promise you this is the left. I think my video is mirrored. Bend over to the right. Great. Touch your toes again. Not toes, knees. All right, reach up overhead. Remember, nobody's watching you. It's perfectly fine. Touch your knees again. slight twist to the right, slight twist to the left, and sit on down. Okay, that was very simple, very easy. Not quite enough. We probably need to do more. We need to do at least 2 minutes of movement. If you want to keep moving, please feel free. I just want to get through all these slides and give you all this awesome information. So the one thing that we did really, really well there is that we included all planes of movement. We did forwards and backwards, we did side to side, and we did a little bit of twisting. I hope you did it. I really do, because I did it, looking like a fool on camera, but I did it. So we don't really twist a whole lot. Even in our culture, twisting is injury, twisted your ankle, or when people do cleaning their house in the spring, a lot of times that's what I hear. I bend over, I twist, and my back went out. That's what we constantly hear. We don't twist enough. So we need to include twisting and side to side a little bit more in our movements, but that's an aside for you. You can use exercise as part of your breaking up all of these sitting moments, but I'm going to give you more things about how it's not just exercise, because again, moving more, we can only scale it to a certain amount. Before we get to it, let's talk about sitting and the question I get so many times of what is good posture, right? Because if we have good posture, then we know, oh, I probably don't have to get up as much, which is not true, but still, there is no such thing as good or bad posture. There is a posture you can tolerate for a longer period of time versus a shorter period of time, because the posture that you would have if you're getting into a crawl space versus the posture at your computer versus the posture while you're washing the dishes, they're all different postures. And so the question is, how long can our body tolerate that posture? How are the muscles strong enough? Can they endure it? Or are they going to give out? They're going to start aching. Oh, I'm tired, and it's not working. So a lot of times when we talk about good posture, we see these kind of outlines. And the issue with this is good, but this basically shows what's called like a neutral alignment of the joints, meaning that in this position, you have the least amount of stress, which is great. This is the posture that's probably going to give you the least amount of stress, meaning that you're probably not going to ache as much, and you're going to be able to sit for a longer period of time. Obviously, you're going to be able to sit with the chair supporting you longer than you're going to be able to stand, because you're going to have to use all of the muscles of your legs and your core and your back to support yourself when you're standing. But even if you sit in the most perfect posture, just lined up like this, picture perfect, it's not enough for health. Because remember the sitting still accrues. So how do you fix your posture better? And it's as simple as frequency and consistency. Frequent and consistent movement is just that vital to our health. It really is. And the immediate question is, well, how frequent? About every 20 to 30 minutes, you should be getting up. I know, every 20 to 30 minutes. It's a lot. That's very frequent. You're thinking, oh my goodness, all those hour-long meetings, what are we doing? Maybe it should be part of the team culture that it's okay for you to stand up. It's fine to stretch in the middle of all those, or they're fully standing meetings, depending. Now, where does this number come from? To give you a little bit of context for it. So at about that 20, 30 minute mark, we've got some gene expression for muscle breakdown. Muscle doesn't necessarily start to break down, but it's almost like your body starts to think about breaking down muscle, but it doesn't quite start then. At 20, 30 minutes, we have less blood flowing to our brain. So our ability to focus on the task actually starts going down after that time. And then our ability to actually break down fat, if we're sitting there, also can drop drastically. And then if you're sitting with that chin forward posture, your airflow and oxygen levels actually go down immediately. So you're thinking the longer you sit that way, the more of a problem it is. The great thing is stand up, walk around for 2 minutes, do something else for 2 minutes, not in sitting. All of that is completely gone. You can go right back to it and continue working. So that's the great news. So that's why we need to break all this up. Now, we talked about all these wonderful things of how to break it up. So we talked about the why, the motivation. We talked about the how of what you can do and the little movements that you can go in. But the other piece, the constant piece there that's really going to help support you is, where do we move? The part that we're not going to just be able to get into because of time is the culture piece of building up the work culture so that your team supports you and you know, oh, we're all doing this meeting. but that's a huge other piece of it. This is something that's within your control and you can change even right now is the where. So let's look at a couple of environments, right? So here's an environment. It's an open environment. It's easy for movement. It's a gym. Not great for work, right? You're not going to be able to probably do a whole lot of work here. So what about this? Set up decently for work. I have some qualms with the way that the laptop is being used and the possible posture is not the best, but everything is within reach. Not great for movement. It's going to be hard to stand up and pace on a phone call or do a stretch if need be. And you're not really able to put up your computer into standing at any point. That's going to be a hard thing to do. So if we take a look at people with the exact same equipment, in this case, we have laptop and headphones. You've got a person sitting down and you've got a person out and about. These are both kind of extremes. The person sitting down is blocking and limiting. Remember how we talked about move within your means and how do you move? He's limiting his ability to move by putting the laptop right there and propping his feet up. In order to get up and move, he has to stop doing his work. It has to happen, which then says, okay, if I need to be in this meeting or I need to be doing this spreadsheet for an hour, I am not going to move. The flip side of the person standing up also doesn't work. You're not going to be carrying your laptop around all day and working outside. We have to have something that meets in the middle. All right. So this is where we get to how do you set up your environment for movement? And that's where we're going to jump out. And I'm going to give you 3 ways, 3 easy things that you can go through to make sure that your environment, your office, your cubicle, no matter where you are, is set up for more movement. So it's more accessible and it helps motivate you as well to the movement piece. So the first piece, declutter. I know you're telling yourself, oh, I probably should declutter. Here's the great things about decluttering. 1, it gives you more space to move around, but 2, decluttering is movement in itself. So if you stand up and start to declutter, even if you do a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, you're breaking up your sitting. So it's already a benefit. The second one is rearranging your office or your furniture. I'm not really talking about the big pieces of furniture. You can rearrange them and that can be nice because your office looks a little bit different. So it's a little more exciting. I'm talking about the kind of medium to smaller pieces. So your plants, your trash cans, whatever else, something you walk to over often. So a trash can is a perfect example for this. It's not just about rearranging it to where it looks nice, but also what is your intention when you move it? So in terms of a trash can, most of us put our trash can under our desk because it's easily accessible. Boom, I can throw something out, no problem. Took me half a second and I'm on with the rest of my day. If I take that trash can, put it across the room, now I'm trying to make free throws. If you're anything like me, you're terrible at it. And so you miss repeatedly. And so you have to get up and put the trash back where it belongs. Now that can really break up your day. So that's another extreme. If you want to do that, you can, it's fun. But then what about putting the trash can on the outside of your desk? Now you have to maybe do a little bit of that leaning. Remember, we talked about the side to side as part of your movements that we need to start including more of. Maybe you need to do a little lean to throw something out. Maybe you actually need to stand up to throw something out. So it's finding those ways of how can I have good intention about movement with the pieces of furniture around me. So declutter, rearrange your furniture with intention. And the last piece, and this, you can kind of get a little bit semantic on this, but be anywhere from 1 to 2 actions from standing up. Here's what I mean with that. You're sitting at your desk. If you just push away and stand up, that's 1 action. All you needed to do was push away before you could stand up. If you're wearing headphones, many of us have to, you take off your headphones, you push away, you stand up. That's 2 actions. If you're at the point where you're going, oh, I'm going to push away, I've got wires all over the legs of the chair, there's a filing cabinet behind me I'm banging into, I have to turn my chair, you're not going to stand up nearly as frequently. Your movement is going to be limited and you're just not going to do it. You might get up whenever you absolutely have to go to the bathroom or anything like that. So those are your 3, right? Declutter, rearrange furniture with intention, and then make sure that you're 1 to 2 movements away, actions away from getting up. All right, let's finish this off nice and quick. So I want to give you some really quick and easy things that you can just grab and take home. Remember, a lot of these are going to be more on the side of the moving more piece because moving more is easy to access. And I can give you a few more ideas here. And then the sitting less is where you're really going to have to trial and error a little bit more in the sense of, okay, which meetings can I do standing? Can I adjust? Can I put my laptop up on a pile of books to do it standing or to do a couple of emails? But these you can take right away. And this way you can get a little bit of movement into your life, because sitting less is more of that long-term game. So key principle, we've said it several times, frequency and consistency trumps intensity. It's just true. It's true in business. It's true in health. It's true as far as I've been seeing it, right? Even exercise, an hour of exercise a week is not as good as 15 minutes of exercise 4 times a week, right? Tortoise in the hare, tail as old as time. But let's look at a quick, fun study to demonstrate this. So they did this study with families. So they actually had groups of families do these activities. One group did an hour and a half CrossFit class, which sounds exhausting and awful. And then they just sat around for 4.5 hours. Another group did 6 hours of board games. Sounds fun. I like board games. And another group did 6 hours of chores. That sounds less fun, but I guess their house is super clean. 6 hours is a lot. So they measured the energy expenditure. How much energy did all of them output? And that's really what we want. Movement is going to generate energy. So we know that, okay, they did probably the most amount of movement. I might have spoiled it for you with the slide before, but it was the chores. It was the chores that won out of frequent and consistent movement. Now, this is not to demonstrate that you need to do 6 hours of chores every single day, just as it's not to demonstrate that you need to do an hour and a half CrossFit workout every single day. The point is that we need to start including movement all the way throughout our day, work and home. How do we do that? Remember, just start small and build up from there. So let me give you some solutions as our final little bit of what you need to do for work from home. But let's start with work, and you can apply these in the office and anywhere you want. So the first bit, set a task or a time goal for when you're going to get up and move. Time goal, we already talked about. 20 to 30 minutes is your ideal. That is your ideal. If you're somebody who usually sits for 2 hours, don't start at 30 minutes. It's going to be very hard, and start at an hour, start at an hour and a half, something like that. Task goal means, all right, I know that this specific bit of work is going to take me 35 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. I don't know exactly. If a timer goes off in the middle of it, it's going to disrupt me, and it's going to take me even longer. I'm going to do it as soon as I finish this piece of work. It takes a little bit more kind of motivation and discipline, but that's another way that you could do it. The second piece goes hand in hand with this part. So when the timer goes off, when the task is done, you stand up, you've got a list of things that you can do. I've gotten to the point now where it's so much second nature that I kind of know. I know that I need to go maybe do some dishes, or I'm just going to go to the bathroom, whatever it might be. If you have an actual list, it makes it less ridiculous, because a lot of times, especially when you're starting out, you stand up and you go, what am I going to do? You maybe do a little bit of an exercise, but then the next time you take the break, you go, am I doing the same thing? Oh, this is just silly. I can't believe that guy told me to do it. This is ridiculous. Have the list so that way you know exactly what you need to do. And you can get things done around the house if you're working from home, right? Or even things around the office of cleaning the office or decluttering your desk is a perfect little step. All right, so coupling those two together. The next few are just really easy grab and go kind of things. Increase the amount of water that you're drinking, or decrease the size of your cup. So I actually, for coffee, I like putting half my cup is full of coffee. That way I feel like I drink 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day, but it's not really 4 or 5 cups. So, and that way I have to get up more frequently and go refill my coffee. So I'm moving a little bit more. Like we said, declutter your desk. Make sure that everything is more and more accessible, just because decluttering in itself can absolutely be part of your movement. And here's the beauty of it. You can schedule this. You can absolutely schedule this, and not just for yourself, but for your whole team. You can say, hey, during this time, everybody's going to declutter. Gives you accountability. It doesn't have to be something you do every single day. It could be a little thing you put in weekly or monthly, and everybody gets to declutter. We do need to do that, and it's just been repeatedly proven how a cluttered desk affects our ability to work. Just as in standing improves our productivity by 46%. There's a fun stat for you, since I'm supposed to give you guys a bunch of stats, apparently. All right, let's go to home. What do we do at home? Chores, chores as movement are beautiful. They're wonderful. They're fantastic. Remember, this is the piece where you're bringing in the why that we talked about, that deep core piece of, okay, if I'm taking out the trash, if I'm doing the dishes, I don't really want to do them. It's late and no. I know in the long term, it's going to make me happy. It's going to make my spouse happy, right? I'm grateful for my spouse. I know that I'm going to feel more fulfilled. Again, is this going to work all the time? And are you going to be just like this perfect person walking around? No, but as you start to develop this idea, you'll understand and you'll see that it does make you a little bit happier to achieve it and do it. All right. Coupled with chores is the more that you can do by hand, the more movement it is. Seems pretty simple, but these are things like washing dishes by hand versus a dishwasher, which you can talk about the water usage and electricity usage, sure. Push mower versus ride mower, buying pre-cut vegetables versus cutting them yourselves, or even pre-cooked meals versus cooking something yourself. You have to find a balance for yourself because there's certain things where you go, no, this is just not efficient enough. It takes way longer. I can't do this. Perfectly fine, but this is to give you some ideas. And here are a few last grab and go ideas before we finish up for questions. Plate your food in the kitchen, bring it to the table. All right. Average Americans sit an hour at the dinner table, and most of the time we put all the food out there so that we don't actually have to get up to get seconds. All right. Quick and easy. I'm not even telling you portion control. I'm just saying where your food is located. If you complain about balance, which I've had so many patients in the past that say, I don't have good balance. Well, you don't practice balance. And if you have kids, this is a great one for them as well, but practicing putting on your shoes without sitting down. It's a great one. Again, it's not for everyone. It's an easy grab and go if you want to add just a little bit more movement. Classic, parking further away. Depending on, we all talk about social distancing and how things have been going. Great. Parking further away. Also, I'll tell you, parking further away actually saves you time, because if you're the person that drives around looking for that one perfect spot, you're spending more time looking for that than just parking and walking a little bit. And it's better for you. Last piece is, of course, ask your friends and family to be that social network for you. Because remember, we said about the culture in the sense of the team and being supported by the team, by your manager, or being the manager that supports your employees to be able to do all of these things. We need that social connection. And this can be as simple as doing little kind of challenges with each other, or just holding each other accountable if you want to do a daily walk. Whatever it is, talk to them. Undoubtedly, your friends and family want you to be happier and healthier at work, and probably they want to as well. So you guys can share this amongst yourselves. We did not cover a slew of topics. It was so much as far as desk setup, and of course, the idea of culture, our use of other electronic devices. These are all things that I try to talk about and discuss on Instagram, as well as pretty much any other social media. I don't really do Facebook. I'm on Facebook, but I don't post on there quite as much as everywhere else. If you have any questions, I love questions. We're about to get to the questions portion. Please email me. All right. Stefan.zavalin@ltmmtl.com, or you can go to stefanzavalin.com and there's a little connect with me bit there. So at this point, I know I dumped a lot of information on you, but we are finally to the question part. So please, please, please let me know what the questions are. I'm going to ask Nick to read them out for me, or Mike, or whoever.
Yeah, no, first of all, that was a great presentation as usual. I always get excited
Absolutely.
about this. It's, real life information that we can all gain from. Someone asked, can you go over the three things again? Declutter, declutter, rearrange. What were the three?
Sure. So the first one is declutter. The second one is rearrange furniture with intention. And then the third one was be 1 to 2 actions away from standing up.
All right, perfect. And then we just got a lot of comments in here.
Awesome.
They were really talking about, I walk through the plant 3 times a day to stretch my legs, helps my knees from cracking when I get up out of the chair. Great information. Thanks for putting these on. Another great suggestions. One person was talking about parking further away. Not only does it help your health, but it saves your car from getting dinged also. That's why I park away, Nobody's near you. They're not banging their doors into your car.
That's a good one. I'm gonna steal that one.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
another
smart.
benefit. Somebody asked a question, what kind of tree is that in your background?
That is a good question. It is a green screen, so I don't know.
Oh, all right.
I dearly apologize. I know it looks very, very real.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Wait. But yeah, those were the main questions that came in. There was another question. Hang on here. I got to scroll back. Question for the speaker. Simply, wow. Oh, my wife constantly bugs me about walking for exercise. I explained that I walk 5 or 6 hours out of my 10-hour workday every day. She claims that walking at work isn't the same as walking as exercise. Is that correct?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. So I believe, and maybe I don't want to speak for her, but in terms of what your wife is saying, she is viewing it as I start from point A and I never stop until I get to point B. And really, that's probably back at your house or wherever it is that you're going. So it's this uninterrupted, consistent walking as exercise, which means that your heart rate is consistently elevated the entire time. If for the 5 hours that you're walking around, if you're nonstop walking around, you have a great argument. Most likely, I'm guessing you walk a little bit and then you stop and you chat for a little bit. You walk a little bit, you stop and chat for a little bit. It's still fantastic because you're not sitting down for those 5 hours, but it's not exactly the same. This is not to say that she is right. I'm just saying they are different in that sense. And her walking for exercise, there is some merit to it. If you don't do anything else to get your heart rate up for a decent amount throughout the day, you probably want to get in a 30-minute walk. But if you're feeling like, nope, I'm huffing and puffing all the way as I'm walking around for those 5 hours, you've got nothing to worry about. That you're doing plenty.
All right. He said, perfect answer. Thank you. Much appreciated. Once again, thank you so much for being here today. This was an amazing presentation. I truly enjoy it. I always look forward to when I see your name come up on our agenda now since our podcast. Just so full of energy and so much great information. Mike, I think you have a couple closing comments before we head out today.
Yeah, again, Doctor, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Karen, thanks for buying this book. I think that's real important to support people that come out and have this life message they're putting out there to help all of us. So if any of you are interested, you could go to Amazon and just you could search, almost like Google on Amazon. That doesn't make sense. Go to Amazon and search for Sit Less. And a couple things will pop up. You'll see the book. It's got like a purple, black kind of cover. It's real neat. And so thanks, Karen, for that. And there you go. Cheap plug right there. And check out the podcast we did with them. I think he covers just a few more stats. And it's not about stats at all, but I think, when I saw your last slide of how many things you could talk about, like you think if you hear one of these presentations, you've heard them all, and you definitely proved this wrong. So there's so many different things to think about. And we have a lot of HR folks. We have our Portage County Human Resources Association folks we invited onto this call as well. And so I like what he said. Think about how you can rearrange the office environment. My old office was at the Rock out on Oakwood Street. For some of you know, that's where the health department is in Portage County now. And literally the Xerox was all the way complete opposite end. And I loved it because I would go print something up. It was inconvenient, but I would literally have to walk a minute just to get there and back. So I was getting my 2 minutes. And now the printer's right next to my desk in my office. So I don't get that same kind of thing. But small stuff like that on your floor layout, if you have a big Xerox you share in the office, there's so many small things you could do, like he said, to really kind of just break up the monotony. And I think the biggest takeaway I've got out of this, and I said this in our podcast, Doctor, is working out 30 minutes a day doesn't fix the sitting down for 8, 10, 12 hours. A lot of us think, well, I have an 8-hour job, I have a desk job, but you're not taking the chilling at home after work, sitting down for dinner, all these different things. And so that's how you get to that 10, 11-hour level. And just a good fitness routine in your personal life doesn't fix the problem. You have to actually sit less. So I think that's the number one takeaway. I think that I never hear anyone else talk about. They just kind of talk, move more and do this little, but the sit less message, how you clarify it to me is the best thing. So thank you so much again. I won't keep going on and on. We won't have a meeting in March. We had to reschedule it due to some schedule conflicts. But there is Ohio Safety Congress, March 9th and 10th. Check that out because there's some great speakers. I know I'm going to be personally attending all kinds of sessions on there. We will be back in April. And so we will make some announcements, and we have some great speakers to end our virtual program coming in May and in June. So we're real excited. We got, just giving you a little sneak peek, we stole some of the Safety Congress speakers, right? So they're coming, and we did podcasts with them. We taught them into coming to our group. And so this is fantastic. So y'all, thank you for joining us today, and everybody out there, be safe. Doctor, thanks again.
My pleasure.